12 o'clock hour of the lunch break here on KDUS AM 1060. Appreciate everybody joining us on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. You want to get in touch with the program? You want to get hung up on by producer Evan? 480-864-1060 is the phone number. Just shaking your head at me in disappointment.
I mean, I thought you were team me.
I am
team John.
No. Let me make something very clear. I am very much team you. That doesn't mean I'm not going to poke fun at you when everybody else is. I'm going to pile on, but I'm going to have your back.
John's right. When I least expect this, it's going to keep coming back.
Yeah, he's just going to, in the middle of one segment, randomly, when we have like a guest on, he's going to call you just to throw you off. You're going to be like, why are we getting phone calls during a guest? He's really going to get you. And then he's going to be like, Evan didn't pick up the phone this time. So 480-864-1060 if you want to join us here today on the program. As part of Buy or Sell, you had a cut from the Hoop Collective podcast. That is the pod that Brian Windhorst hosts with Tim McMahon and Bontemps also on that pod as well. They cover basketball. It is a great listen. And they had some interesting things to say, and you heard one of the cuts of Bontemps talking about the Phoenix Suns having the worst situation in the history of the sport. But there was another interesting cut from that pod that I wanted to bring to you, and we're talking a lot about Kevin Durant and the trade, the summer of Durant, and what the Suns can get back for KD. But the Hoop Collective was discussing Jordan not being hired as the head coach and really just discussing the situation in Phoenix in general. And we'll have some more cuts on that here in a second. But I want to play this one to start because this is Brian Windhorst talking about how this KD trade is about to go down.
So what it comes down to is this. They're going to try to make a Durant trade probably between now and the draft. What it sounds to me like is that Mat Ishbia will be executing that trade. Now, maybe he was going to do it anyway, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. So Mat Ishbia is going to oversee this Kevin Durant trade. Now, an owner is always going to be involved in high-level negotiations like this. A owner is always going to be involved when you're dealing with a superstar of this magnitude. It just comes with the territory. You're trading a superstar player. You're trading somebody that, despite how bad the team was last year, generates revenue for the organization. In merchandise sales, endorsement money that comes in, advertising money that comes in because they want to be associated with the Suns who have Kevin Durant. That is a high-level decision. So, of course, Mat Ishbia is going to be involved in the Kevin Durant trade, in the summer of Durant. But listen to what Windy says here, because he doesn't say he's going to be involved.
So what it comes down to is this. They're going to try to make a Durant trade probably between now and the draft. What it sounds to me like is that Mat Ishbia will be executing that trade. Now, maybe he was going to do it anyway, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Mat Ishbia is going to be executing that trade. When I hear that, I hear he's going to be talking to the other GMs. I hear that he is going to be discussing what the trade package should be to bring back in a Kevin Durant trade. That sounds like somebody to me who isn't really going to be taking the advice of his newly formed GM. It, you know what, doesn't really sound to me.
The alignment
doesn't sound very aligned. Sounds like one person just wanting to do everything himself. And this is what everybody's fear was when that memo got leaked last week in the wake of Jordan not getting hired, when Mat Ishbia said that he wants to be more involved. Here is him being more involved, that he's going to be the one that executes the Kevin Durant trade. He is going to be the one that decides on the trade package. There's a difference between being the person in a trade negotiation and being a part of a trade negotiation. There is a difference between those two things. There's a difference between your GM that you've entrusted, your GM that you have hired to oversee these things, coming to you and looping you in when it becomes more serious and saying, hey, this is what's going on. These are the teams that are interested. These are the packages that we're considering. Want to gauge how you feel about this. Is there one of these packages that you're just totally against, or are we good? And most owners will share their opinion, but tell you at the end of the day, you do what you think is in the best interest of the team. Because that's what good managers, that's what good CEOs and good owners do. They trust the people that they've hired. They trust those people to execute on the visions. And they have conversations all the time, and they recalibrate on what the vision is so everybody's on the same page so that Brian Gregory can go out there and execute the wishes and the vision of the owner. That's not what's going to happen here. Sounds like Mat Ishbia is just going to do it all himself. And if you want a national perspective on how everybody thinks about what's going on here in Phoenix, here is Tim McMahon talking a bit of an extension about this conversation about Mat Ishbia.
I just really believe his approach as an owner has been completely misguided and counterproductive, especially under the new CBA. And I'm sorry, his fingerprints were all over the Kevin Durant deal. His
Literally the
fingerprints were
first
all
day.
over
6
the
hours.
Bradley Beal deal. He's the one who his push was stars.
That's the national perspective. Questioning what Matt is even talking about when he says that he wasn't involved in the past and that he needs to be more involved moving forward. The argument is, you've been involved. To use Tim McMahon's phrase, his fingerprints are all over this. All over Kevin Durant trade. All over the Bradley Beal trade. All over the way they have built this team from the moment he got here. And so Mat Ishbia is going to be more involved, everybody. He's told us that. He's made it clear. He told the rest of the Suns basketball operations staff he is going to be more involved in every decision that this organization makes. So he's going to be involved the way Wendy said he's going to be involved in the Kevin Durant trade. And this is what everybody feared when they hired Brian Gregory.
The alignment.
That alignment wasn't going to be the good thing that we all thought this organization needed. Everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. But that
The alignment.
was putting people in place that would just say yes to whatever Mat Ishbia wanted to do and would get out of the way. Here's Tim McMahon on Brian Gregory.
The hiring of Brian Gregory, who might end up being a fantastic general manager, but this
Sure.
is a classic.
By the way, I didn't think Brad Stevens was a slam dunk to be a great executive.
No,
I
but-
thought Brad Stevens was a great coach. He's turned into a great executive. So I'm not saying Brian Gregory can't be a
But
great
what is
executive.
Brian Gregory's primary qualification to be the Phoenix Suns general manager?
His relationship with Mat Ishbia,
He was
dating.
an assistant coach at Michigan State when Ishbia was a walk-on. He has 11, now I guess maybe it's a full year now, of experience in the NBA, none
He
as a
did-
decision maker.
He has sort of been around the team for 2 years, I believe.
Okay.
But he's only been a full-time member of the front office for 1 year.
But that hiring was a clear signal that what Ishbia is telling you is the truth. Ishbia feels like he didn't have enough of an impact on things. And I would say, boy, oh boy,
So
I
whatever
don't
it
think
comes
that I
down
don't
to-
think that's the message that Suns fans are going to be comforted by.
No, zero comfort in that message. Zero comfort in the idea that Mat Ishbia is going to have more fingerprints on this roster because his resume does not inspire confidence. And when you go through a major change like the Suns are going through this summer, changing who's in the GM chair, changing who's courtside coaching the team, changing the way the roster is made up, the one thing that you need is the feeling of confidence. Why do you think people talk about winning the press conference? That phrase comes up because you want to win the press conference to give confidence to your fans, to give them a reason to believe in the vision that you are trying to sell them, the vision and the pathway that you are choosing to take. At every beat of this, Mat Ishbia first spoke at the end of the season. Did that give us confidence? Did we feel better about the direction of the Phoenix Suns when Mat Ishbia spoke? Sort of. We liked the words. We liked the message. But what did we say? I'm sure we could pull the tapes. I'm sure we can pull the show from the next day after Mat Ishbia spoke to the media. In fact, I think we can pull the tape because if I remember correctly, that press conference happened while we were on the air and producer Evan was reading me quotes without me seeing them for me to react to.
Yeah, I was on Twitter just surfing and I was just reading you quotes.
And we said at the time, this is great, but actions speak louder than words. So great, you're saying the right things. You're delivering the right message. You're using the right buzzwords. But now your actions have to match that. And then the action right after that was to put somebody in the GM chair who has never been a serious decision maker. And I am not trying to knock Brian Gregory. How many times do I have to say to all of you that I am rooting for Brian Gregory to succeed in this role as the GM of this team? But he doesn't have any serious qualifications. He's never been an executive anywhere. And I'm sorry, you heard it in Tim McMahon's voice. I have the same disdain for saying, oh, well, he was around the organization for the last couple of years. Get out of here with that. That's not the experience that you need. He's not a serious decision maker who's ever had to decide on a trade, who's ever had to decide on who to draft. But you know what? That might not matter because he may not be the person who's deciding on free agents and who to trade for and who to draft because Mat Ishbia is going to be more involved. So then when this happened,
The alignment.
our confidence was lost. Our confidence didn't exist. And then the cherry on top is you hired a head coach who didn't have the qualifications comparatively to everybody else that you were interviewing. And you hired a guy who had a Michigan State tie to complete the trifecta and to give everybody zero confidence in what you're doing moving forward. And then the memo leaked. Of the teams here in town, the Suns are at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of confidence. There's more confidence in Mike Hazen turning things around than Arizona for the Diamondbacks. There's way more confidence in what Monty and JG are building out in Glendale. There's way more confidence down in Tempe with Kenny Dillingham and what they're doing with the football program. The Suns are at the bottom of the list because nobody has confidence in them right now. There is no confidence in what they are trying to build. There's no confidence in the messaging. There's no confidence in the vision. There's no confidence in anything. Your actions are telling a different story than your words. I have one more soundbite from the Hoop Collective podcast. All it is tagged here is the Hoop Collective on the Suns. Let's see what this 21-second cut is all about.
Right.
And
so with this bad situation, whether you want to call it the worst of all time, with this
Correct.
bad situation, they hire an inexperienced general manager. They hire an inexperienced head coach. He's an experienced coach, inexperienced head
Correct.
coach. And the owner says, I got it, boys.
And the owner, the inexperienced owner,
Now he's experienced.
no, he's not. Well, he's got a little bit of experience. It ain't good.
Exactly. The experience that Mat Ishbia does have as the GM or as the owner. See, there was a Freudian slip there. Mat Ishbia, his experience as the owner of the team. Yeah, he does have experience sitting in that chair, but it's not good. He does have experience of taking a team that, while maybe wasn't going to get back to the finals and win a championship, did not need to be overhauled the way that it did. Did not need Kevin Durant to save them. Did not need to trade all those young players and all those draft picks to get Kevin Durant. Team didn't need that. Team didn't need to go out in that summer and trade Chris Paul in a deal to get you Bradley Beal and that no trade clause. Did not need that. Of the three, Jordan Ott, Brian Gregory, and Mat Ishbia. Ishbia has the most experience. That should concern all of us. That the person who has the most experience in their role is the owner who has shown us zero confidence in being able to turn this around. And we have said how important this offseason is. We have said that without turning it around this offseason, it could be a decade of irrelevancy for this team. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride that Mat Ishbia is going to take us on. Because it's going to be his ride. It's not going to be Brian Gregory's ride. It's not going to be Jordan Ott's ride. This is going to be Mat Ishbia's ride. So hop on board, everybody. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. We've also got you over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. Brian from Chandler over on the YouTube says Mat Ishbia is the Jerry Jones of the NBA. He burned all equity and goodwill with that ridiculous Coach Bud hire. Get ready, Suns fans, to wander around aimlessly in the desert for the next several years. I don't know. The only thing I would push back on, Brian, is I don't know what equity Mat Ishbia ever had. He got here as the new owner. And he did all the flashy moves to get everybody on his side. And I've long said this. It's always easy to be that owner. It's always easy to be the owner that throws around the money, that trades for the big superstars, because everyone's going to love you. Where you show whether or not you're a good owner is in these tough times. When you have to make the tough decisions. And so far, those tough times, he has not done well. So I think he burned the equity when he decided to fire Frank Vogel and go to Coach Bud, and then fire Coach Bud, and then now do this again, and then hire a bunch of yes men to be in charge. All of that together is where he burned the equity. I think the equity was burned when they traded for Bradley Beal. I think that's when people went, what are you doing, man? You're trading for a guy that's got all that money, that has got a no trade clause, that plays the same position as Devin Booker. How is this going to work? Dude, this is not fantasy basketball. And you should know that because the Spartan way, you should know how this works. Instead, we get whatever it is that we've gotten here so far. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. That's what they say when you get on a flight, right? Sit back, relax, enjoy the smooth flight. We'll try to avoid the rough air. Mat Ishbia is up there flying the plane. I think he's fine in the rough air.
We got a little bit of chop.
I think there's some turbulence coming our way.
We got some chop.
I think there's some turbulence coming our way.